The world is filled with voices. Some are soft and nurturing, lifting you up, making you believe in yourself. Others, they are venomous whispers, words that cut deeper than any blade. And sometimes, without realizing it, those words are aimed at you. You never expected it. Walking into that room, feeling the warmth of familiarity, believing you were among friends. And then, a hush, a lingering silence. Eyes flickered away just a moment too late. Nervous laughter echoed against the walls. And then you heard it. Someone was talking about your mouth. At first, it didn't make sense. A joke? A careless comment? But the weight of their words settled in, heavy and unavoidable. Did they mean your smile? The way you spoke? The words you chose? The way your voice trembled when you were nervous? Doubt crept in, weaving through your mind like an uninvited guest. And suddenly, you started noticing it everywhere. You began second-guessing every word that left your lips. You questioned the way your voice filled a room, how your laughter carried through the air. You wondered if they saw your mouth as something odd, something out of place. And then it started controlling you. You spoke less, smiled less. The silence became a safe place, a shield against judgment. But deep inside, something was breaking. A voice in your head asked, "Is this how it ends? Do you let them define you?" The thought terrified you more than their whispers ever could. Silence became your comfort, your armor. You told yourself it was better this way, better to stay unnoticed, to avoid the sting of their words. You convinced yourself that speaking up, drawing attention, would only invite more whispers, more scrutiny. But deep inside, you knew the truth. You weren't protecting yourself. You were imprisoning yourself. You started watching others, observing how they carried themselves, how they spoke with confidence, how they laughed freely. They had something you once had, something that had been stolen from you by a few careless words. One day, you stood in front of the mirror. You looked at yourself, really looked. Your lips, your voice, your expressions. Everything about you told a story you had silenced. That's when the realization hit you. Why were you letting someone else control your narrative? Why were you giving power to their words, letting them dictate how you saw yourself? No more. It wasn't going to happen overnight. Reclaiming your voice would take time, effort, and courage. But for the first time in a long time, you felt something stir inside you. A determination, a defiance. You would speak again. And when you did, the world would listen. You stepped forward, hesitant at first, but with each step, your confidence grew. The weight of their whispers no longer pressed against you like an unbearable burden. Instead, they fueled you. You started speaking again, not just in hushed tones, not just in safe spaces, but in the open where your voice could be heard. And for the first time in a long time, people listened. The same ones who had whispered about you now turned their heads in surprise. They had underestimated you, thinking you would remain silent forever. But they were wrong. You began to own your voice. It became your weapon, your shield, your power. Words that once made you shrink now became the force that lifted you higher. You started using your voice not just for yourself, but for others. You saw those who stood in the shadows, afraid like you once were, hesitant to be seen, to be heard. And you reached out to them because you understood their pain, because you had lived their struggle, because you knew what it was like to be silenced. But no more. You spoke, and the world listened. Not because they had to, but because your words carried power, truth, and resilience. This wasn't just about your mouth, your voice, or their whispers anymore. This was about you, rising above the noise, reclaiming your story, and showing the world that you were never meant to be silent, because the voice that once trembled now shook the world.